The Batteries Included podcast is brought to you with United Chargers and their Grizzly range. The next generation of Grizzly is here. Meet the Grizzly Ultimate, the most powerful AC Level 2 charger for home use. With a maximum current of 80 amps, that's 19.2 kilowatts. Your vehicle could be charged up to twice as fast as a standard level 2 and up to 15 times faster than a level 1. And of course, it's Wi-Fi connected, so you can take control of your home charging, view stats, set a charging schedule, take part in demand response programs, and control your charger remotely. And that joins the lineup alongside the original Grizzly Classic. The Grizzly Duo, designed to charge two vehicles at the same time. The Grizzly Mini, a portable charging station. And the Grizzly Smart, a revolutionary smart EV charger. Those chargers can adjust the current from 16 amps up to 40 amps, that's 9.6 kilowatts. Plus, the Grizzly Ranger IP67 rated, built in Canada, and with the highest quality materials. You can order yours right now. Go to unitedchargers.com, that's unitedchargers.com.
It's the wrong ad. It's the wrong one. It's missing the at the beginning. Our regular listeners will know. Hang on a minute. That's that idiot Brit guy speaking again. We will play the correct ad at some point in today's podcast. It could be in the next 10 minutes, or it could be towards the end. Make sure you keep watching to find out when we actually locate the file that I should have played. Hello and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast. It is Friday, July 11th, episode 96. Today, the debut of the Hyundai Ioniq 6N. It's really special, but who's it aimed at? We'll find out. Rivian launched their second generation R1 quad vehicles, truck and SUV, and it'll have a very special party trick. But who's going to use it? And the Kia EV5 gets its global debut. But who's going to buy it? I don't know. These are questions that we'll answer today, and of course, much, much more. I'm your host, Martin Lee, from the EV News Daily podcast. Joining us today is the transcendent Mr. Tom Malogany, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. We have Dominic Yoni, longtime EV journalist and host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Dominic, joining us as well on the buttons this week. I say on the buttons, not the bit that plays the advert. That's me. That's on me. Dominic's doing the comments and everything else. You can leave a comment if you're watching the live stream. Friday morning, US, Friday afternoon over here in Europe. We'd love to see you in the live chat. What's on your mind? Add to the conversation. One of the great things about this podcast is you guys in the audience always add, and frankly, say better stuff than we have to say. And it just is fascinating to read. Guys, have you had a good week yourselves?
Dom?
Yeah, I'm good. Last week was crazy. I was on the road with Kyle and the Out of Spec team, and never a dull moment and a lot of late nights. But yeah, this week I think I've caught up on my sleep. Not quite caught up on work. As you can tell, we switched platforms back in, or I switch platforms back again. So that's why my head's kind of huge today. I haven't figured out how to adjust my camera properly. So I'm way back from the keyboard and the camera and everything, but I'm still kind of huge. So I need to straighten that out.
Okay, well,
yeah,
it's not that your head grew this week. It's just that the camera. No. We're changing how we bring you the podcast.
Yeah. Well, you're such a great big personality. You should have a big head on screen, Dom. I think that fits you. So my week was good also. I did some keeping busy over here in the garage. I think last week I talked about the trip up to Niagara. That was the week before, right, with the Escalade IQ. I think I talked about that. That was a nice trip. I'm going to have a video coming out on the Escalade IQ drive. It was like a little under 800-mile round trip up to Niagara Falls, which is beautiful. I'd never been there. What else I do during the week? I just kind of hang out and by the pool. I have a nice pool area, so I did a lot of swimming this week.
Nice.
And that's about it. But enjoying the relatively good weather in between the intermittent, like torrential downpours. It's like it'll pour for 30 minutes, then a little bit later, it's a nice, beautiful, warm day out. So my mic is low. Everyone's saying my mic is low. Let me see if I could turn it up a little bit.
There we go. So, I think you're on your big boy microphone. I think you're on your big boy mic. It might be worth checking as we've gone back to the old system, Tom.
True, right?
I think you're on your big boy mic.
Hey, Martin.
I am.
Yeah.
So Kyle isn't with us this week. He was with us last week, but I understand you got to meet him in person for the first time ever somehow. So like, and there's photographic evidence, right? So how did this happen?
So, yes, I finally got to catch up with two people in real life. That I have known for a very long time and I never actually met. So, first of all, obviously, everyone knows the channel. The range of channels, TFL, the Fast Lane, whether it's TFL Truck, which is where I first found TFL, but Roman, who built that up and has an incredible team of people I've known for a long time. I think we first spoke during lockdown times. And he came across EV News Daily and gave me a shout and was like, "Hey, I've been listening," and I apologized. Somebody has to, and we just got chatting, and it was great to meet him. Of course, I have worked with Kyle for 4 or 5 years, every single week. Week in, week out, back on the old show on Inside EVs, and then over here on Batteries Included podcast. And the crazy thing is, we had never met in person, and Kyle dropped me a text, I think on Tuesday, to say, "Are you going to Goodwood?" Because I am. And I hadn't planned. It's a crazy busy week this week. It's the end of school term and stuff like that. We've got parties and picnics and things to go to. And I said no. And then he texted me on Wednesday morning to say, "Oh, I've just landed and I've got a free evening." Like, where's Portsmouth in relation to you? Well, it goes Portsmouth, Southampton, Bournemouth, and Poole. It's about an hour and a half. It's only about 70 miles, but we've got 50 mile an hour speed limit between here and there, and it's average speed check cameras, so you can't even speed up between cameras. Not that anybody ever does that, but we got average, so it's like it's quite close as the crow flies, but it just takes me ages, like an hour and a half to get there. He's like, "I've just landed. Can you get here?" So I said yes. So I jumped in the car. And we met. I met these guys at the hotel they were staying at. They were flying in for very early Thursday to go and see the Hyundai, which obviously I didn't get to do. But I did get to meet Kyle and sit down and have some food and some drinks and just catch up and meet in person. How crazy is that? That of all the time that he's over here in Europe, I never had.
True. Because he's usually on the mainland, right? Not on your island.
Even then, it's not crazy for me to get in a car and my brother used to live in Germany, and I would drive across, and it's only it's like half a day of driving, so it's fine. But I got 2 young kiddos, and it's really difficult to up sticks when you've got commitments. When Kyle says, I'm at the Nürburgring, want to come do some laps? I'm like, yeah, the answer is yes, but my life is different to yours, my friend. I mean, Kyle has dogs and responsibilities and stuff, but he can be slightly more spontaneous than I can. So he's invited me loads of times when he's been over to be like, "Oh, I'm doing a thing, come and play," and I've never been able to. So it was just lovely to finally meet these 2 YouTube superstars. I was a bit shy to ask their autographs. Maybe next time.
Ooh, I just had a termite land on me. That was wild. Okay.
All right.
In Florida. Anyway, sorry.
That's all right.
Weird segue.
Occupational hazard. All right. Okay.
Roof collapses in the middle of the stream.
Yeah. Right. So that's one of the things that we will get to on the podcast today. Hyundai Ioniq 6N.
So you mentioned Goodwood, Martin. Do you know what's going on there? So we have the. We'll talk about this in a minute. The Hyundai Ioniq 6N debuted at Goodwood. Are there other? When are all the big reviews? Because Honda has a little car there, like the successor to the Honda E kind of situation, but it's still covered up. I thought it'd be all debuting by now.
Yes, and I thought so too. And there's a bunch of stuff that I made some notes on. Obviously, we'll talk about Ioniq 6N. MG, the Chinese brick brand, it's Chinese these days, have shown off a fastback and an SUV. So the fastback's called the IM5 and the SUV is called the IM6. They're on 800-volt platforms. They're obviously Chinese. I think they're in Australia already, and they're coming here, which is huge news. And so they are really interesting vehicles. They showed off their Cyber X concept, which is like a little Land Rover, and the Cyberster Black edition.
Savage Black.
The Renault 5 Turbo 3E, which is that hark back to 1981, and the Renault Turbo, and it's, you know, whatever it is, like £250,000. They're going to make a handful of them. The Alpine A290 Rally edition, and Xiaomi, I think, are going to be there with their SU7 Ultra, which is that one that just set the Nürburgring records. And so there's a bunch of stuff there, as you say. Mini are there with John Cooper Works electric versions of the Mini and the Countryman. Yeah, nothing here on the Honda Zero, which is the SUV, and the Honda Super EV Compact, which is a little city car. So yeah, that's a little bit weird, isn't it? I thought we might get actually some half decent reviews of those already out, but it's been a little bit quiet.
So Kyle's there on the ground, so he's shared some of the things on X.com that he's seen. So we can see the Super EV concept here from Honda, but it's still covered up in the camouflage or whatever. Yeah, so it's kind of an odd situation, I think.
Yeah, but but a lot of EV stuff at Goodwood. If you've never been, I've been tons of times, and it is fantastic to just stand by the track and watch what's going up, have a walk around. If anyone hasn't been and you're thinking of going, if not this year, then a future year, I highly recommend it. Goodwood is awesome, and I highly recommend the Goodwood Revival. But that's not really the purview of this here podcast. But the Goodwood Revival, you have to dress up for it. I don't know, in some sort of World War II outfit, and but that's great because you get to walk around the garages and all the old vehicles. They have them just, well, the garages are just open, and so if you love cars, bikes, and everything, you can just go and meet the people that own them or the drivers they've got in, and you can talk about how they keep them on the road and stuff. But that's a revival. Highly recommend it. Been to that a few times as well. But Goodwood Festival of Speed is always good. You get a chance to go.
Speaking of Kyle, real quick, I just want to see the videos from the $5 Fizz. That's what we're showing on the screen here now. They've started coming up. That's what we were working on last week. It was like a series of events with these three different cars: the Spark EV, the BMW i3, and the Nissan Leaf limo in its American flag livery. So we did a series of videos, and some of those are starting to come up. So if you want to see, there's a $5,000 electric car endurance race, 24 minutes instead of 24 hours. And then there's a separate video. There's the fastest lap challenge, with each car going all out for as much glory as possible in one lap, which is great. Drew, who is you can see in this thumbnail, he's like a fast driver. It's wild to see, especially I think the BMW i3, because it's on not only skinny tires, but they're winter tires. So he's got that thing sliding like all around that track. It's just wild to watch. And then there's also the fastest lap challenge. And then there's the on the Out of Spec Motoring channel, there's actually part one of the actual race from Jacksonville, Florida to North Carolina. And that's right. Part one is a little bit long, but yeah, it should be a pretty good watch, I think.
All right, go check those out. All right, let's talk about Hyundai then. Tom, have you ever had the Ioniq 5N on a loan? Or I know you've probably driven it, but have you ever had one in your driveway for a while? Oh, you may be on mute. There you go.
Still muted. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully that's a little bit louder than it was before.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I had it in the fall, and I did a range test. That actually, I did the range test for the 70-mile-an-hour range test for Inside EVs. It's on their YouTube channel, and it went like 225 or just under 230 miles. So you know, when you get the end versions, you take range hits, you know, and it's all about priorities. What's most important for you? And I'm sure the Ioniq 6 and is also going to go significantly less distance than the Ioniq 6 will. But that's all a matter of what you need. You know, there's plenty of people that drive cars that, you know, while they want as much range as possible, you look at their daily life and, you know, maybe once in 3 months they go farther than 200 miles in a day. You know, so it's like, why do you need a car that really goes much farther than 200 miles if 4 times a year you drive more than 200 miles? You could just use public infrastructure on those rare occasions. But I know we're still in that mindset of not, wanting to have to rely on that and wanting to be able to, well, if there's an emergency and a meteor hits and we go to war with Iran and I need to be able to drive up to North Dakota where there's a cabin and I can shelter in place for, until the radiation subsides. So people have these crazy things that they worry about, and realistically, you don't need as much range as I think most people think. But I had the 5N, and what a blast! It was one of the most fun electric vehicles that there are, and I actually was a little, I guess, skeptical that Hyundai was going to do a good job replicating like a combustion, boy racer. You know what I mean? A street race car. I thought it was going to be gimmicky with the noise and the shifting paddles and everything, and I really fully went into it expecting to be like, yeah, this is not for me. This just isn't for me. And man, I loved that week with that car. I had a blast. I had the fake noise up all the way. I was shifting gears. My wife was so sick of it, she wouldn't drive in it with me because I go around the corner to get a quart of milk, and I'm like shifting, going up, like pulling up next to people, like pretending to want to race them. I didn't want to race them, just having fun with it, just to get a rise out of her. And it was just like hilarious. It was like I was in one of those, Fast and Furious movies. It's just such a different feeling than what you get with, most electric vehicles, that visceral, that sound. And not that I miss it, but I do want it once in a while. You know what I mean? And I'm fine with my EVs being quiet and smooth. I mean, I prefer them. That's why I do them. But getting in a car like this that had such a different, experience, it reminded me of, driving as a teenager, and building old cars from the 60s and so forth. So it was a lot of fun. And I expect this will be a lot of fun to drive. They really nailed it, Hyundai, with the car. They didn't half-ass it. The car is like a legitimate, tremendously fun, totally redesigned. They didn't just give it a little bit of a better suspension, add some horsepower, dress up the interior, put some paddle shifters in. No, this thing works, and it is a blast to drive.
Yeah, the N division, which is very famous and long-standing, have really been allowed to re-engineer. As I'm sure our listeners know, but if not, the Ioniq 5M, which has been out a long time now, is physically wider, has a wider track. They actually re-engineered the vehicle, has a different battery, a different thermal management. The Ioniq 6, that got a little refresh recently, and they kind of tidied up the front end and things like that. So the new N car adopts the same face. And they also, the 6N gets the second spoiler back because that refresh did away with that top one. But they just put a big old wing on the back of this. So it's like Tom says, range takes a hit with these performance cars, and that's going to be draggy, to say the least. Some side skirts and different bumpers. This one has a 84 kilowatt hour battery, so same overall energy, but a revised thermal management system and just beefier coolants and things like that. So WLTP range was given as 291 WLTP. Of course, that is 13 more than the Ioniq 5N. So even though this has some sticky aero and stuff that's going to slow you down, it's still a bit more slippery. So 291 WLTP. So you adjust that for EPA if you want. DC charging, same really, 18 minutes, 10 to 80 because of the 800 volt system. Powertrain, you won't be surprised to hear they have got the Ioniq 5N engineered. So they've used that. So that means 641 horsepower in launch mode. A tiny 601 horsepower without, quicker than the 5N as well, by a smidge. 0 to 62, 3.2 seconds, 160 miles an hour. Not the quickest car we'll talk about on the podcast today. Revised suspension, as you may have seen on screen if you're joining us for the live stream or you're watching the video version. The chassis has been re-engineered as well. Should be selling in the US in 2026. Early, I think, Dom, as well, 2026. Price-wise, we don't know. Dom, where would this come in for you price-wise?
Well, so I believe the regular 6 is just a little bit cheaper than the regular 5. So I'm expecting it's the 6N is a little bit cheaper than the 5N. So I'm thinking like 65 grand basically,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
is, I mean, for the performance, I think it's not too bad. Oh, we lost your camera, Martin. For the performance, I think that's not too bad a number. I was looking at the used actually 5Ns last night, and under 10,000 miles, like 7,000 miles or so, 2025s down to low 50s. So if you want to save like $15,000 and get something that's slightly maybe just broken in just a little bit, you can
Broken in.
you already find these on the used after 6 months. So maybe like this time next summer, if you don't want to take the big $65,000 hit, you might be able to find something in the 50s, and that should be, I don't know. So relatively speaking, I think that's pretty good. But the performance is quite similar, I think, to the Tesla Model 3 performance, which is a bit. I'm pretty sure it's cheaper. I meant to look that up and have that price ready for me to go, but I did not. Do you know that price off the top of your head, Martin?
You're on mute, Martin.
Your mic might be muted.
But Dom, I would guess to say that the Model 3 performance is going to be a little bit less than this.
Right.
That would be my guess. And there's nothing wrong. Model 3 performance is an awesome car, but I would take one of these for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would. I really enjoyed my time with the Ioniq 5N, and I'm sure the 6N is going to be just as spirited and fun to drive. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, so looking at the Model 3 performance, it's $54,990, so $55,000. So it's probably going to be like 10 grand less, which is
it's
hard to make that. Yeah, that's a significant amount. But then of course
your priorities, Dom. It goes back to, if you ask me, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like what do you want? Like the 3 gives you all the performance and a normal driving experience.
True.
With this, do you lean more towards, look, I want to have fun when I drive. Like nearly every time I drive, I want to have fun. I think that you'd be more inclined to go for something like this.
Yeah, I think with I think I like to see. Well, maybe we'll see, because now that Kyle's back in North Carolina, he may be doing again the one lap videos he used to do. So he'd take a car out on the track there and just see how, at like 9/10 how fast it'll do a lap. So I'd really like to kind of see how this holds up on that kind of experience compared to the Model 3, because this should, in my mind, be faster. I think they've spent a lot of time, like they re-engineered the whole chassis, and the front geometry is different. Everything's just geared towards going around turns, and
in a straight line the 3 might get it, but I think on a track with the proper driving, and Kyle knows how to drive, I think he'd whip it around a little bit quicker than one of these.
Or Drew drove us to the airport, which is quite a ways away, on the way back, and he chopped off a lot of time. The guy that witnesses his skills firsthand. It was pretty wild.
That's cool. Let me grab a question until Martin gets back. Chris M asked, Tom, question for you. I've been meaning to ask, would you make the same decision and buy a Lightning today? So I'm going to have a bunch of Lightning content coming up, because this week is my 3-year anniversary with my Lightning. I've had it for 3 years. So I'm doing a range test now, and I'm going to compare it to the range test that I did like the week after I got the truck. The charging test, charge it from 0, right after the range, up to 100 to see battery capacities and stuff like that. And then just do like a 3-year owner's review. But in short, Chris, absolutely, I'd buy a Lightning today. I've told a few of my friends who are kind of on the fence recently, look, before the tax credit goes away, there's tons of super deals out there. And I even saw on X, and I haven't confirmed this yet, but maybe someone will while we're doing the show. It seems like Ford has brought back the Pro model with extended range battery option to non-fleet customers. If you remember, you couldn't buy Lightning Pro, which is a lower trim, no carpeting, kind of toned down, basic model, they wouldn't let you order it with the extended range battery pack unless you were a fleet customer. And I think you can get that now. That is the deal. If you want to get into a Lightning and it's just slightly out of your budget, if you can order a Pro with the extended range 131 kilowatt hour battery pack, man, and get the tax credit and any other credits you get now before September 30th, jump on that deal, because that is a super deal. And I've driven the Pros. They're fine. Yes, it's not as nicely appointed as the other Lightnings. It's got vinyl flooring. It doesn't have carpet. You can put carpet floor mats in if you really want that. I put vinyl floor mats over my carpet so I don't ruin the carpet. So what's the difference? And there are a lot of other small things that aren't as nice as the other versions like my Lariat. But hell, for the price you can get an extended range Lightning now, man, that is nuts. So yeah, Chris, 100%. I'd buy a Lightning again today, 100%.
Excellent. All right, guys, can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so frustrating. Okay, cool. Sorry about that and dropping out. So has anyone in the comments, Dom, can you see, has anyone got some information on that? Looks like Ford does list the Pro trim with multiple battery options, according to this source here. Yeah, this does look like... Oh, this one says the F-150 Lightning Pro wasn't eligible for the federal tax credit. Why would that be? That's odd. Okay, we can get some clarification on that from someone. Because as Tom says, that would be the deal of the century.
Yeah, that'd be pretty nice. Pro with a big pack, and yeah. So what would that be? How much would you think that would be? Like under 50 grand? Yes?
Not under 50, but under 60.
Okay. Under 60, which is...
Yeah.
Yeah?
Wow. That would be amazing.
300 mile range Lightning. You don't get all the things, but if you really wanted to get into a Lightning but just couldn't afford it, I tell people to buy used ones anyway. But if you don't want to buy a used vehicle, if you can get the Pro with the extended range, that's fantastic. If you're okay with used, which I would recommend you do that, because a little spoiler here, I'm seeing like no capacity loss after 3 years and 37,000 miles. Nearly none. And you guys know, you've seen my videos, I DC fast charge the hell out of my car, doing all these tests. I've driven it down to 0 maybe 25 times. I've charged it to 100% maybe 50 or 60 times. I've done everything they tell you don't do with a battery, and there's like no capacity loss. Sure there's capacity loss, but it's managed by the BMS, and maybe Ford opens up slightly more capacity of the total capacity as you lose, and I'll notice it at some point down the future. But the used Lightning that you can get now, you can get my trim that I paid 80 grand for, like at 22 or 23 for like 55,000. That's if you're okay with getting a used vehicle, man, get that. I've seen some of them in the 40s. Brendan Flash, who's in the comment section sometimes, I don't see him here today. He bought a used Lightning I think for like 48,000 or something like that. A Lariat like mine.
Good deal.
And super deals.
I've got an email somewhere from Ford. You won't be surprised to hear, are leaning into the tax credit going away. Got to find a silver lining for what is undoubtedly some bad news, because that is going away at the end of September. Ford sent emails to customers this week saying, and I quote, "Now is the time to buy electric vehicles because of the elimination of electric vehicle tax credits," end quote. The company extended its Power Promise promotion, which gives free home charging equipment until September 30th as well. The Ford F-150 Lightning, of course, can get the federal tax credit. I don't know if all the trims, like I say. Tesla did the same thing, changing their website to say $7,500 federal tax credit ending. Take delivery by September 30th. Again, most Tesla vehicles still qualify. So yeah, it's not great news that it's going, but are we surprised that the car, well, certainly dealers, but the OEMs themselves have been like, right, so it's going. That's not great news. Let's make the most of it, and let's just sell all the stock we have in the next 3 months. Like, let's end September with nothing in inventory. Let's just go hell for leather. So not surprising.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But in short, if you ask me about the Lightning, I know I've said it multiple times. I've driven pretty much every production electric vehicle made since 2009 extensively. Week loans, 2 weeks loans, bought. I've owned 12 different EVs. It's my favorite electric vehicle of all of them. And that's me, though. That's my personal. I'm not saying it's the best electric vehicle out there. Certainly like a Tesla Model 3 or a Tesla Model Y is going to serve other people better than a Lightning would. Not everybody needs a truck, but just living with the vehicle, it's my favorite electric vehicle to hop in and go for a ride in, which says a lot because I've driven them all.
I'll show this comment on screen from Max. Max says, fun fact, Ford's Michigan LFP plant will still be eligible for the production tax credit discussed at length last week. And I think I'll paraphrase Tom. But Tom, you were basically saying if they lose it, it's like they've invested, I think they're 60% done of a $3 billion investment.
Yeah.
So they do get the tax credit, which didn't get cut from the bill. This is great news for their future affordable EVs. I know it's in the running order for later, but that's probably the whole story. I mean, we can flesh it out a little bit. So the original wording of the bill was materials that have been through China or countries of concern and processed there, or Chinese IP, so Chinese licensing, right? And that's obviously Ford. Their legal, their lobbyists, whatever, would have found that and gone, hang on a minute. I need to make a phone call to the board. This is potentially a disaster. Then, I don't know how long ago that was, but I saw, from Jim Farley, from everybody was, from Ford, whether it was a little bit of influence, a bit of soft power, coming out and just saying, we won't employ 1,700 people. We'll shut the thing down. All of that may have worked because then they took out that bit in the text which said, the stuff about Chinese materials is still in there, but about the Chinese licensing. And the IP. Yeah. So that came out, which obviously they're licensing the Chinese CATL LFP technology.
Yeah.
And that's a really smart move because you look at Northvolt, the European battery company, they spent, 16 billion euros, something in that region, and couldn't make it work. Don't underestimate how difficult the last 20 years has been in China whilst people haven't been paying attention. And for this battery technology to get to where it is, to get the yields high, to get the machinery working. So to license that, do it on US soil with US workers. China said that Chinese workers will be here at the beginning to train the US workers, but then they're leaving. And so it will be a Ford plant. I think that is a very sensible, pragmatic move, I would say, by the politicians.
Absolutely. And, we did talk about this last week. And one of the things that I mentioned about, investing in battery factories and so forth. And what bothered me was that there's any restrictions on that. I knew that the tax credit was going to go away for the end purchaser, but I think the government should be doing the opposite of putting restrictions, going the other way, incentivizing the factories and building. Don't say, well, yeah, you can get these incentives, but you have to check this box, this box, this box, this box, and which Martin just explained, some of those boxes got unchecked because they just didn't make sense. But we should have gone the complete opposite way and said, no restrictions. If you're building factories here, we'll give you low interest rate loans. We need to get these factories in the place here. We can't make you jump hoops. It's already hard enough to make money in this industry. So we can't make you jump through hoops to build factories, to employ people here and build jobs. We say we want manufacturing here. Damn it, don't make it hard to build a manufacturing here. Do the opposite. Do what other countries do and give these enormous tax breaks and credits to companies that are willing to build and incentivize domestic production. And that's what I was talking about last week.
Yeah, 100%. So that's a really smart move. Obviously the consumer side is what it is. We haven't got, look, in the United Kingdom, that got phased out many years ago. And I did benefit from it. Maybe, whatever it was, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, buying EVs. It was 5,000, then it got tapered down, 4,000, 3,000. Then it just all went. And now we're Europe's biggest EV market. We overtook Germany. And so it can be done, although we're a big fleet market here, by the way. Big incentives to have leasing and fleets. So we are very lopsided. Retail EV buying is an issue here. So we have no incentives. It works here. I'm not saying it's not good news for the US, but the next 3 months, you're going to see a lot of advertising from the OEMs and the dealers to say, hey, if you want an EV, if you've been thinking about it, like on the fence, do it now, because you're going to get the discount.
Yeah, and Jim Farley reminded everybody in a tweet on X that, listen, you get a Ford electric vehicle, we install the Ford Charge Station Pro at your home, and he listed actually how many were how many they've installed so far, and it was a tremendous amount, tens of thousands of them they've installed in people's homes, and that's removes an enormous impediment to going to electric vehicles, because so many people, when they've never owned an EV, you could drive to a dealership and get a car, a combustion car, and just drive it home, and everything's cool. There's nothing else you need to do. But if you're at that dealership and you're thinking, well, maybe I'll get an electric car this time. My neighbor has them. They say they're pretty good. My nephew drives one. He loves it. You're at the dealership. You're going to make that purchase. And they're like, well, can you charge it at home? Then it's like, how do I do that? And now the salesperson's got to explain to him. Now that's a huge pain point. Now, you know what? Just give me the combustion one. The next car will be electric. But when the dealer can say, and don't worry about charging, we'll take care of that. Just give us your address. We'll have an electrician come out. We'll give you the charger. We'll install it. You'll be good to go. You'll be charging in a week. That is such an enormous pain point that's been removed from the customer. So, this is what the OEMs need to do, not these free charging credits on DC fast chargers. All the companies should be doing this.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So here's the tweet. Since launching Ford Power Promise, more than 10,000 complimentary home chargers have been installed. That's a good number. Oh, and I saw another thing I didn't realize about the Ford Power Promise. They just mentioned it in passing somewhere, but that includes, or the warranty, their battery warranty is kind of good. It's like 90%. Energy retention after, was it 80? I forget the number. I think it was 80,000 or 100,000 miles. It was higher than.
I thought it was 120,000 miles, but I don't have the exact number. Yeah. Yeah, and I can tell you and they wouldn't put that out there unless they have the data, because they have the data from their pool of vehicles. They know that they're retaining that amount, Dom. And I tell you, mine. Once I do this video, I haven't gotten all the data yet. You're going to see that my battery virtually appears to be like it has lost no capacity, which is not true. Batteries always can lose capacity, but they're managing it with the buffer. So at some point I'm going to notice capacity loss, but not yet.
Right.
And this is 3 years in with almost 40,000 miles.
So, Jim Farley there saying that they've installed 10,000 complimentary Ford Station as part of this Ford Power Promise. So, Tom, the Ford Charge Station Pro, that's the name, right? Yeah, Ford Charge Station Pro. If you buy F-150 Lightning Mach-E E-Transit Cargo, is a level 2 80 amp charger, 19.2 kilowatts. You're looking at the spec here. That's the one that's bidirectional capable.
Yeah.
The offer includes standard installation performed by Q Merit. Normally retails at $1,310, this says. And so someone do the math on that for me. Obviously, they're not paying if that's what it retails for, but I don't know what the hardware costs Ford to buy from their manufacturers. But 10,000 complimentary one of those is a very hard cost to the bottom line of Ford's business. And as you say, I would much rather that than, we're going to do you 1.99% interest or whatever. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't want more incentives than you can get. But if they're going to put some money on it, and obviously offering a lower interest rate, then, Ford Finance is taking a hit because money's not free to borrow for them, then I'd much rather that. I'd much rather the dealer says, right, we'll do a turnkey solution and we'll sort it all out. Whatever that's cost Ford's business, and it won't be insignificant, really smart move.
Yeah, and Martin, you just mentioned the cost of the charger is $1,310. They install it.
Okay.
It's at least another $1,300, for the average installation. So, you're looking at probably the average install for cost to Ford. I bet cost, because you're talking about the cost of the Charger is not 1310, maybe it's half of that, I don't know. I would say it's probably about $1,500 out of pocket for Ford. Their cost to pay the installer, Qmerit, and then the cost of the equipment. So, it's big numbers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. If you're happy, we will talk Rivian.
I'm happy.
Good. Well, let's talk Rivian. So we talked about a very fast Hyundai Ioniq 6, and I asked the question, who's it really for? And I'm not saying that I wouldn't want one, because by the way, I'd really, really love one, but the pool of people that would make the jump to that is probably a little bit smaller. And the same, I think, with high-performance trucks. You're already trying to sell somebody an EV truck or an EV SUV, then you're trying to sell them an exceptionally high-performance one that costs 125 grand plus. It's not like the highest-powered Rivians before the quad-motor versions were slow, by the way. But second-generation Rivian quad motors using their own motor technology. The original ones using Bosch motors, the new ones are in-house designed and in-house built as well. They're more efficient, more powerful. They put out 200 more horsepower, and so it's now 1,025 horsepower, almost 1,200 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 miles an hour, by the way, in a truck. 2.5 seconds. The SUV, like a tenth of a second slower. 140 kilowatt hour battery. It's what they call the Max Pack. Officially 374 miles of range. We'll get into this in a minute. On screen, if you're watching the YouTube version of this, you will have seen a quick shot of the RAD tuner, R-A-D, Rivian Adventure Department, R-A-D, the RAD tuner. And we'll get on to some other things, little party tricks you've just seen as well. But this is I think of the RAD tuner as, from the 1980s 30-channel equalizer that was on our home stereo that, as a kid I would like to play around with. It's a little bit like that. You can just fine-tune every bit of the vehicle. Accelerator response, regen, mess around with the front-rear torque split, wheel slip, damping force, roll stiffness. And so you can just play it. If you don't want it, don't go into the menu. That's the great thing about EVs and software-defined vehicles. If you just want, just punch it and go, it'll do that. If you want to get granular, it'll do that as well. And the two features getting a lot of attention as well. Native J3400 charge port in the same place with the same cover, but unlift it up. And now you'll see the NACS connector underneath there. And then quickly, I'll mention, before I shut up, kick turn. Kick turn is similar to tank turn that they teased, but kick turn, now they've implemented it, is even better because it will work whilst you're driving up to 15 miles an hour, of course, but not exactly at speed. However, that's really impressive. I'll quickly tell you how I think it works, and that is you can activate the mode, then press the left button on the steering wheel, and you mash the accelerator, and the thing will turn. It'll spin whilst you're going forwards. And the same with the right-hand button as well, because again, quad motor, you've got complete control, not just with braking each wheel, but accelerating each wheel individually. So yeah, the whole kind of tank turn spinning on a spot thing is impressive. G-Wagon does it in Chinese vehicles as well, but this has taken it a step forward, which is very, very cool. Dom, you've been all over the news this week with Rivian. Anything else strike you, or what did you like about what I've just mentioned? Or not, of course.
Well, I mean, I spent last week driving a Rivian, but it's just the two motor version basically, and that the regular Rivian is like it's four-wheel drive, but it's front motor bias. So when you're driving normally, it's just the front wheels controlling everything, which works great. You don't really feel torque steer or anything like that. But what you do feel, if you put your foot into it just a little bit, you can feel the rear. There's a clutch being engaged, and then the rear motor is getting power and adding to your overall output. And I kind of don't like it. It's like you can kind of sense it happening, here and there, and it's not a big deal at all. But this won't do that because it's every wheel has its own motor and there's nothing to connect. And so there's a whole lot about this thing. I'm not really sure where to really start. So I haven't driven it, but Kyle has, and he's talked about it. And actually, he has a video out on it on Out of Spec Reviews. And the title of his video let's see if I can find it here. Right. The new Rivian quad motor is kind of a letdown, which is, not great, not great news for Rivian, I guess, for seeing that. But it's a bit harsh because he mostly liked the truck, really, but he was just disappointed by a few things. And when you're asking for this much money for a truck, it's, those little things can be annoying because you want it all, basically. So one of the big issues he had with it was the lack of differentiation between this and the lower trims. For that extra money, you don't. Well, besides the extra, you get all kinds of power. You get a lot more power. Like the new powertrain is like 200 horsepower more than the original quad motor powertrain. So you're getting that. But other than that, you're getting maybe there's a launch color, like that launch green color. The launch edition gets for $4,000 more. You get a camp speaker and a key fob and a few things, but yeah, but for the performance is such that it's the other ones are so good. That's the thing. The other trucks are so good. His argument is that you don't really need the quad, except he wants to get a quad himself because that's
obviously because of course he does.
But I think for most people, and he has a point, and that makes sense too, because this is really like a halo sort of vehicle. It's at the top of the line, and it's supposed to show off their engineering skills and abilities. But that's the other thing. So they gave it all this go, but they didn't give it any more stop. So the brake calipers are teal colored now, but they don't really. I don't think there's any more stopping power to them, which is and it's a heavy truck, right? So I think that was one area he was disappointed in, and the other one was the battery. So it's the same battery. It's 140 kilowatt hours in the max pack, but it's. He said when you drive the Rivian hard, like if you're towing, especially, which we saw last week, we towed a 10,000 pound trailer with the one we had, and which maxes out the truck's towing ability, and it handled it pretty well. It did. You could feel it back there pushing more than it did with the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck handled it even better, but the Cybertruck's like a larger vehicle. But the Rivian handled that 10,000 pound trailer really nicely. But if you get like a lot of heat into it, like if you're pulling that in the mountains, the battery pack would get a lot of heat, and that could slow down. It could derate the power output of the battery, and also when you want to charge it, it could slow down the charging numbers as well. So I feel like for EVs, like the battery is everything, right? I mean, it's great. Well, it's the soul of the thing. You got to get that part right. And I'm not sure that Rivian's quite there yet with that. I mean, for most people, it'll be fine. It's not not really an issue. But when you do get into performance, you want to have performance, right? For forever, not just, you don't want to be limited by the hardware in your truck, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense, Tom?
It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So I've actually driven these the quad R1T and R1S, the second gens. Back months ago at a Rivian event. Rivian invited me out to Pacific Raceway, and we were able to take them on the track. And I did quarter mile in the R1T in 10.7 or 10.8, I think. It was the first time I broke 11 seconds on a track. I've driven vehicles like the Plaid that'll go faster, but not on a track. It's the first time I saw the numbers show up, that started with a 10, which is brutally fast. I mean, brutally fast. And 0 to 60, I only clocked, I think, 2.7 or 2.8. It's supposed to go a little bit quicker. But, this was a press event, and there was 30 people there, and I might have been 10th or 12th in line after, people were thrashing it around the track for 40 minutes. You know what I mean? So as you mentioned with the thermals, but I mean, that would happen with most vehicles. If you're just pounding it, running quarter mile. I mean, it was fully charged when we started. And by the time I got in it might have been at 70%. We already burned 30% of the battery. So you expect a little bit less performance at that point anyway. But man, is this thing brutally fast. I have the first gen quad motor R1S, and I used to have a quad motor R1T, and it felt noticeably faster. And mine are really powerful, but this second gen quad felt noticeably more powerful than my vehicles felt. So yeah, they upped the power for sure. You know,
Yeah.
I understand where Kyle's coming from. He's right. You know, for this amount of money, they probably should have gotten a little bit more into. I'm not going to talk about the stopping power because I honestly don't know if it needed that. I haven't driven it enough to know if was the stopping power already, say, more than adequate on the lower trim. So now it's adequate for just because they didn't increase the brake size for this higher performance model doesn't mean that it's inadequate. It might have been overkill for the lesser models. But the thermals for sure, I would have expected them to up that, and have a little bit better thermal management, cooling for the super high performance Halo model, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's
so Philly Phil kind of makes a point here. He says, "Yikes! It's Elon's Tesla Plaid going into a tire wall on fail brakes." Which yeah, and so Tesla did a similar thing with the Plaid. They gave you over 1,000 horsepower, but the brakes didn't really hold up to any like hard use. If you use that horsepower like on a track, they weren't holding up. So like in Kyle's case, he spent the money, he got an upgraded brake kit on it, which I believe is through Tesla, and I think that's a direction that Rivian might consider going in. Just give people an option. So if they want to track it's kind of weird to track a pickup truck really, but or the SUV. But I mean, you give 1,000 horsepower, and some people are going to want to do that, I guess, right?
Yeah. But my question, Dom, is does it need it? Like, I don't know. I'm not convinced yet that it needs it. The Plaid for sure needed it. But it may be inadequate. I don't know. But just because they didn't upgrade the brakes for this model doesn't necessarily mean that they're inadequate. That's my point. It may very well be, and Kyle would be able to report on that better than me. He's driving it more. I mean, we had it on the track. It seemed fine on the track, but we were just running straight quarter miles. It wasn't going around a whole track, just doing 0 to 60, 0 to 100 and quarter mile times. But that's my only point. Just because they didn't upgrade the brakes doesn't necessarily mean they need it. They could have engineered the second gen from the get-go saying, look, the brakes are going to be more than adequate for our top trim, and it costs us more to have different types of brakes, so we'll just put that on all the vehicles, and it'll be adequate for all of them. That's my only point. I don't know if it needed them. The Plaid absolutely needed them. It was reported by everyone that drove it that the vehicle was dangerous. Let's see if we're getting this from multiple sources once the quad's out in a lot of people's hands.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think it's. Yeah. What you said exactly.
So the truck starts at 69.9, and all I would say on pricing, although I'm no expert, but it seems that it makes sense to me to have a truck on sale for 129 if you go launch edition or special edition or whatever it was. I'm not sure what that gets you. I think a key ring and a speaker, if it's worth the $4,000. But all I would say is having a truck in your lineup for 130 suddenly makes a 69.9 truck, which is still dual motor, enormously capable, doesn't seem so bad. So sometimes in lineups, not just car makers, but in all walks of life, sometimes having a big halo thing at the top for Rivian can help people readjust their perception of pricing. But I don't know, it's just an idea. So glad that it exists. Don't know who will buy it.
That's the thing. Who's going to buy it? When
is it
when
a
you
problem?
Get the other options at such lower cost? You know?
And it's not, 70 grand's not cheap, but it does, in comparison, seem like, well, that's a lot cheaper. So, all right, let's talk about a vehicle that is a lot cheaper. And sometimes you have just got to get straight into a vehicle that is completely where the mainstream want to buy, which is SUVs or crossover SUVs. And the Kia EV5 is a vehicle that's been on sale already in China. and Australia, I believe, get it. However, now it's coming to Europe and Canada. Kia EV5 is bigger than a 3 and a 4 and smaller than a 9. You won't be surprised to hear I'm stating the obvious, but that's where it fits, right? So Kia EV5 is slap bang Tesla Model Y territory. This is Volkswagen ID4 ID5 combo territory. This is Nissan Ariya, maybe new Nissan Leaf at the top end territory. This is Peugeot E5008 and all of the rest. Okay, so this starts at less than £40,000 in the UK, which is under our luxury car tax bracket, and this is absolutely where the majority of car buyers are. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, the Kia EV5 is a Kia EV9 put on a hot wash and has been shrunk a little bit, because otherwise it's not a 3-row, but it's exactly the same. So if you like that chunky styling, and I think there's something really endearing about Kia's design language at the minute, this is exactly where you would imagine it to be in your mind's eye. Let me tell you about it. 400-volt version of EGMP, 1 battery option. Normally Kia, Hyundai do the old 2 battery thing, talking about pricing, because it allows them to go, starting at 28 grand, because it's got the small battery and the Air trim. And so this one doesn't. This has got front-wheel drive only, and it's only got the big battery.
Hey, Martin, can I interrupt? Sorry.
Oh, please do.
So I was reading through this, and on the press release, they say it has 2 battery options, because we read an article earlier this week that we shared between ourselves that said there was only 1 battery, but in the actual press release, there's a 60.3 kilowatt hour battery and an 81.4 kilowatt hour battery.
Now, I took mine from the UK.
Weird, right?
I took mine from the UK motoring press writing this up. So this could be a European thing that's available at the smaller battery, which is very typical of what they do, because it's all about use case. And, Hyundai and Kia typically do that whole 2 battery thing, which is brilliant. If you don't need the range, don't carry it around. I would get the range if you can. But that's great, Dom. Thank you for spotting that. Maybe we don't get the smaller one here. Of course, only being front-wheel drive opens up the all-wheel drive option as well. Sorry.
And that's the other thing. So apparently, and sorry for interrupting, because this is just a confusing part from the news that we saw earlier this week. So it's front wheel drive now, but at least in Europe, they're going to be offering all-wheel drive at the beginning of next year.
Perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So if you want one now, you can go get one front-wheel drive, and if you want to wait a little bit, then you get all-wheel drive is really not essential in this segment in so many temperate climates. Charging, 150 kilowatts, maxes out. I did on the journey home from Kyle, I was getting home with minus 4%. And I thought, the Polestar always readjusts as you get closer to your destination in your favor. And I was about 30 miles from home, and I'm like, I probably won't squeak it with 0. So I just pulled in for 5 minutes, and that charges at 150. And I'm like, well, this old girl, I've always thought charges pretty well. She's 5 years old now. Charges well. Look, 150 was fine. It was just a couple of minutes, and I got way more than I needed. Kia says 10 to 80 in 30 minutes. And again, you're absolutely in Tesla territory here. Tesla do many things brilliantly. Fast charging, not really one of them. And so EV5 will, as I say, front-wheel drive. As Dom says, all-wheel drive later in 2026. Yes. So Canada will get these. The US, I don't think will. Vehicle to load, vehicle to grid in some places where the power companies and the wallbox EVSEs are all aligned. So this looks cool. What's on screen, Dom?
So earlier in the show, 10 lawn gnomes slid us a few bucks here. Thank you very much for that. And to ask us, is the EV5 coming to the US? Conflicting reports, and I'm not sure if they've updated only parts of old articles or if it's only going to Canada and Mexico. So they do say in the press releases that it's coming to North America, but they only really ever specify Canada. So I'm not even sure if it's coming to Mexico. I think it should. I think it's a brilliant kind of. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't have LFP pack. It's got the. I think my image is frozen on the screen. That's wild. What's going on there? Anyway,
Tom's comment in the stream. Can I put that?
Heck.
Look, you're contemplating, Dom. You're just
I am.
This is what the EV5 does to you.
Martin, you should do. Let's all 3 of us do it for a little while.
I'm not. Oh boy, I don't. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with that. Do I? Is the screen even working anymore for me?
Maybe refresh the
don't
camera.
Know.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't. This is a pretty brilliant car, and it doesn't look like it's going to come to the U.S. Because I think with tariffs, this is going to be built in. It's going to be built in a few places with with China or with South Korea being one of those places, which would. You're still laughing. Oh, I'm still for. Okay.
No, you're fine now, Dom.
No, you're fine. Yeah,
now.
it's sorted itself out.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I'm looking at different screens and things, so I don't really see what's going on the camera. And that's just it's freaking me out actually.
Just go on, Dom. Just go on.
We can...
Fine.
Right, where were we? Yes. Anything else on the EV5?
I just said it's built in. Will be built in. I think 3 different places actually. They're going to build it in. They built it in China. They built it in China since 22. They've had it. It's been in China already as a vehicle since I think 2022 or 23, and I think it's also already available in Australia. But this is like a global launch now, and so we're going to see a lot more places. It's just the right size and the right shape. It's it's like it's a little boxy, so it's space efficient.
Yep.
And and it's got the iPedal 3.0 system, so you can fine tune the regen braking.
Do we have pricing on this at all?
It starts at in the UK it starts at below 40 and goes to 45 for what the top trim, which we call GT Line S, and so that's 38 grand. UK is 45,000 US probably direct comparison. Of course, that's the price that we pay.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to add to that. So yeah.
How's it compare to a Y where you are?
It's about the same price as a Y. So
because that's important, very important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely in that territory where 99% of people buying that car just want to know what's the monthly offers on it. Like I don't care what the headline price is. Like what's the offers? What's the interest rate? What's the deals that you're doing? Tesla are obviously doing some great deals at the moment, trying to sort of stoke up their European sales, which have wobbled. So yeah, but Hyundai and Kia are always really good at that as well. So yeah, it's.
I'm actually going to pick up not for me, but right after the podcast, a new refreshed Model Y. Friend of mine got one, and he asked me to go with him to inspect it when he picks it up. So right after the podcast, I'm going to pick up a new 2025 Tesla Model Y and do like the inspection.
Look, I parked a couple of spaces away from a new Y in the car park of Kyle's Hotel a couple of days ago, and just reminded me what a great looking car that is from the front and the back. Side profile, they haven't done a huge amount to it, but I really do think it is a big jump up, and the quality of life improvements inside and ride and things like that. That Model Y is, it hasn't had the sales success yet because of various factors, but it's
looks
there was some good stuff. Yeah,
absolutely looks a lot better.
It's way better.
Even the inside, minor improvements, but I think they made the right little tweaks. So if you don't mind that kind of decontented, minimalistic look, which I know a lot of people love, a lot of people don't like it. If that's not an issue for you, then I think it's laid out really well, and the interior is very nice.
Before we get into what you've made this week, or the videos at least that you put out, I caught the for one reason or another, I was doing a bunch of work late at night. I just put something on in the background, and I like racing, so I put NASCAR on. NASCAR was in Chicago last weekend, and worth saying, it was good. It was a good race, and they once again they did a demonstrator of 3 electric NASCARs. I think that they've got different badges, but I think they're made by ABB, pretty much all of them. And again, there's someone at NASCAR who's like head of future powertrains, and he was on saying, we want to be ahead of the curve. We don't want to open our eyes and suddenly everything's gone electric. We want to be trying these new technologies. But I don't know. I think if you're going to be doing anything in electric racing, like NASCAR is the last place you should do it, just because I can't think of any NASCAR fan, and I'm one of them. There's a lot less of them than there used to be, of course, but that's going to be like, hey, brilliant. They sound fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of NASCAR is that it's not exactly cutting edge Formula One technology, but it's brutal and it's loud and there's a little bit of rubbing shoulders and all that kind of aggressive racing, and you don't see too much fisticuffs in other racing series, but back in pit lane, if there's been some argy-bargy on track, the drivers will take it outside the cars, and that's NASCAR for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure they need to be showing off electric cars because it just got panned. It just got absolutely destroyed in the comments. But I don't know. I think never
agree.
mind. Yeah. So, but they're still doing it. They're still moving forwards and talking about electric stuff in NASCAR. But I thought it was interesting. So Ford enthusiast says, "Why is NASCAR dead?" I don't think it is. It's just not as popular as it used to be, going back a couple of decades. But there we go. Clearly this is not the audience of Major NASCAR. Now, Tom, let's talk about a video that you put out. You reviewed the, how do I say it? Iveco? That's how I say
Iveco,
it.
yeah.
Iveco EV Power Gen 2 EV Charger. Dom's back. Welcome back. Dom, we're talking about Tom's video with the Iveco EV Power Gen 2 EV Charger. What's the deal with this one then, Tom?
So Iveco came out last year with their first generation. Kind of came out of nowhere and surprised me because a lot of these startups that come out of nowhere, when I get a chance to review their products, I'm not really thrilled with them. It takes a little while to get up to speed with what some of the more established brands quality-wise put out. And it seems like there's a race to the bottom. A lot of the new companies now are just concerned with cheapest price, cheapest. They want to be on Amazon and be $10 lower than the next guy. People buy it, and then that translates to the quality of the product. But these guys came out, and I was very impressed with it. And you saw, if you're watching on YouTube, a screenshot of where it was in my best chargers of 2024 video. It received 98 points on my charger rater. It was at the top rating of all my chargers. So now they came up with a Gen 2. They made some improvements, and I thought it would be worthwhile to do a full review on it, which I did. And it's still a great unit. They made some nice improvements. I got a chance to talk to the CEO out at the EV Charging Summit. Yurley, his name is, really nice guy. And the funny thing is, when we talked about how the first gen scored so well on my charger rater and everything, and he told me, he said, when we set out to build the charger, we built it to your specifications. I knew it was going to score well because we specifically took all the things that you say are important in a charger, and we made sure that they were robust and worked well. He goes, so you did all the R&D for us. We didn't need R&D. We just watched your videos and we built a charger that would score well in your system, which, is a great compliment. And, I think that's the right way to do it. Honestly, I've been doing these for a long time. I've spent more time taking apart chargers and using them than any market research firm that there is. So that was smart. So yeah, I did the review. It did very well again. It's one of my top rated chargers. It's you can get it in a 40 amp version now. Previously, it was just a 48 amp version that you would derate if you want it lower, but now he's selling a 40 amp version and a 48 amp version, NACS and CCS, either plug you can get on either one. And it did very well. It scored exceptionally in the cold weather testing. They have a new cable that did better than the previous year's cable did. Really good, nice, solid connector. It's a great unit. Very, very happy with it. Passed all the tests, and it's in contention for my top chargers of 2025 video, which I'll be doing probably this month.
Yeah, you've always been of the opinion, spend what you need to spend on a charger, but don't race to the bottom. Like, it's so important.
Yeah, and one of the amazing things about this, if you're looking on YouTube now, you'll see price-wise $399, which is at the lower end of the high-quality chargers that I review. He's in Grizzly territory, which is one of the reasons why I'd always spoken so highly about Gleb's products, is that not only are they great products, but they're low-priced. They're $100 or $200 less than competition. Iveco followed that same model, and they're offering low-cost units at very, very good prices. So that's there. It's definitely a high quality unit, and it's definitely on my recommended charger list for sure.
Brilliant. Go on.
Oh yeah. So the interesting thing, if you look behind me, there's a couple of black brackets on the wall. It's because I'm doing another review now, and of a different product. I'm not going to mention it yet. That'll be out next week probably. And I had the company contact me. They want me to review their product and so forth. And this is going to be, it's going to be your favorite charger. We have all these other YouTube influencers out there that have said it's the best charger on the market and everything. So I looked up online, and there's a bunch of YouTube influencers that they've sent them out to, because the companies will do that. They'll send out chargers to whoever wants to make a video of it, and some of the YouTube reviewers are well-known Tesla, YouTubers and so forth. They're saying, oh, this is the best charger. It's better to get rid of your Tesla wall connector. And I'm like 3 days into the review, and I'm saying to myself, Jesus, what these people get paid to say that? So, look forward to, I'm not going to name any names, but you get that a lot. When people, if you have a popular YouTube channel now, these companies will send you anything. People want to send me electric lawnmowers, everything electric, because and with a code that I can make money on selling them, use my discount code or whatever. And but I don't take that stuff unless I'm super interested. I was interested in the electric snowblower, so I accepted that because I have a big long driveway. I wanted to see if it would work. But bicycles, I can have 100 e-bikes here if I wanted to review them, but I just don't. But it drives me crazy when I watch. So I watched a bunch of these reviews before I did my review, because I wanted to see if I could get a heads up of what was up with this product. And it's like, somebody would say like, oh, and this is a great feature for this charger. So I'm like, oh, wow, let me use that. And then I do it. And I'm like, how could anybody say that about this? But anyway, you'll see that'll be a video next week. But for the EVCO, you could see me doing the cold weather testing now on the cable. That thing was frozen at -12 degrees for like 30 hours. And look at how nice and pliable the cable is. You can see the frost forming on the connector. And now I start the drop test. So I started doing slow-mo drop tests. So you can see you could see the drop in like 30 times speed or whatever. And I think people like that. You really get to see when I drop it. But I think the next drop is the one you want to see, because I drop it, not this one, the next one. It goes right on the edge. And that's what you're worried about, because that's when the tab breaks or the end of the charger breaks. See, that one's right on the edge. So watch this one in slow motion. Boom. Yeah. So that's when you usually see damage, but it didn't. It was fine. But I mean, these are the kind of things that happen in real life. A frozen connector, you drop it on concrete, and if it cracks, what good is the charger then? You got to swap a cable out or just get a new charger. And some of the cheap chargers that are on the market now use such poor quality connectors and cables. It's a shame.
Oh, this is great, Tom. How many times do you do your drop? It's like nonstop dropping action over here.
5 times, yeah.
Okay.
It's just abuse.
Wild.
At this stage, it's just charger abuse.
Yeah.
But that's it.
So,
it's great.
Yeah. So yeah, the EVCO makes great products. It's I definitely wouldn't tell anybody not to get one for sure. If you're in the market, there's a bunch of good chargers. Gleb, our sponsor here, United Chargers, and I'm not just saying this because he's our sponsor. He makes great charging equipment. All the United Chargers equipment is fantastic. And if you live in Canada now, it's almost a no-brainer with the new program that he has, the charging as a service, where he gives you the charger and then you earn money back on how many kilowatt hours you use. I'm going to do a video with Gleb soon for State of Charge, but right now it's kind of like a no-brainer if you need to buy a charger in Canada to look into his charging as a service with the Grizzly products. It's you get paid to use your charger at home, and you get a free charger.
You can't really beat that.
How do you beat that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Gleb should have the Canadian market locked down, and if he brings it here, it'll be a big deal for here as well, I imagine.
He says he's planning on
Right?
bringing it
Like
to the
that's
U.S.
that's the
I don't.
goal.
I'm still concerned or very curious of how he can do that because we in the U.S. it's very difficult. We have over 3,000 private utilities, private and public utilities. So I mean, he would have to negotiate deals with all of them because depends on where you live and what utility you use. He can't give you money back on money that he's not involved with some sort of a program in that utility district. So, that's made it difficult for a lot of things here in the U.S. The fact that how our utility system is set up, how there's public utilities, private utilities, and some states, one state, there'll be 30 different utility districts. It's nuts.
I mean, Florida has like 2 or 3 main utilities, but then Tallahassee has its own. We have our own utility. That's know.
So, I mean, Gleb would have to go make a deal with Tallahassee and with the other companies in every state. There's thousands of utilities in the U.S. It's really bizarre how the utility district stuff is set up. You don't see that anywhere else in the world. There's, large swaths of countries are managed by one utility.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, speaking of your videos and things, you shared this with me earlier today. Did you want to talk about this?
Oh, so that's a video coming up today. Yeah.
Okay.
I did the recent review of the, oh my God, I can't believe now I'm having like a senior moment. What the hell's the name of the charger? The last review that I did, the Emporia Pro.
Right, okay.
And it has intelligent load management system. So I did the review 2 weeks ago here at State of Charge. I didn't show off how the intelligent load management works for a couple of reasons. Some of the review would have been too long. And number two, I could have tricked it and said that I have 100 amp service here when I commission it, but I have 400 amps here. I'm never going to exceed my limit here at my house. But what intelligent load management does is if you have like 100 amp or 150 amp main service, and now you want to install a 50 amp charger, you can't really do that because you're going to be exceeding your service capacity. So that's been a big impediment for electric vehicle adoption, particularly in middle America. Most of the homes, the older homes, have 100 amp services. So you can't add a 40 amp or a 48 amp charger. You'll exceed your capacity. So now we're starting to get chargers, and Emporia Pro is not the only one. Wallbox does it, a couple others do it. Not many though, where you can set it up where it manages your power in your home. And if your car's charging and you're going to exceed your service capacity, the car will charge at a slower rate until there's more power available. Then it'll charge at a quicker rate. So I did a video on this. I found somebody that lives in my town here of Chester that lives in an apartment building and has 100 amp service, and he has a Chevy Equinox EV, and he's been charging at public chargers like Tesla superchargers for the last 6 or 7 months because he couldn't charge at home. But he got his landlord's approval to install a charger as long as he did it at his expense. But now he has this 100 amp service panel where he might be able to spare 24 amps. That's it, which I tried to explain that would probably be enough for you. You don't drive that much, but you got to understand when people get their first EV, they don't want to hear that. Like they're concerned about range anxiety. They want it to charge at the fastest it can charge at, so I really wanted to charge at the 40 amps. I said, okay, we can make this happen. So I reached out to Emporia and I said, look, I have an example of somebody that has 100 amp service. He needs a charger installed in his apartment. He got permission by his landlord. Do you want to partner with me on this? You guys pick up, not that picture there. You don't want to show that picture. So I said, do you want to supply the charger and install it? And I'll do a video and I'll cover it all. Emporia said, yeah, sure, Tom. If you want to explain how this works, we'll pick up the tab. So good on Emporia. They paid for everything. And just this week, we had this installed, and now we've got one more person that can charge at home that couldn't before. And that video is going out today. I explain how you install the Emporia Pro with View. The View is the device that you need for it to do what they call Power Smart, which is this dynamic load balancing system. And yeah, that video will come up today. And this is, liberating, that you don't need to have a 200 amp service to charge at 48 amps anymore, as you did just 2 or 3 years ago. Or you had to do a service upgrade where it cost $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to upgrade the whole service in your home. Now you don't have to. You can charge, high speed level 2 charging, even if you have a 100 amp, 60-year-old service panel, which is really this is what we needed, and this is definitely, like I said, liberating.
And this is your Emporia.
That's my Emporia Pro
review.
review. Yeah, that's the beginning of it. And where you see all the way to the right of the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, that's the view system. That's the smarts that you have to install in your service panel in order to communicate with the Pro and intelligently manage your power. So as your house's usage goes up, your car charging slows down. Then you go to sleep, you turn things off, the car charging goes up, and and it charges at the full rate.
Yeah.
So it's a solid unit. Emporia makes great units also. Yeah, it got a really good score. And for the price, $599, and that includes the view system. It comes with it. So, for $600, you have intelligent load management in your house. Of course, you have to install it, but it's also a super deal.
Is it a big job to install that for electricians?
No.
Oh, sweet.
For a licensed electrician, installing the view system itself, like in your service panel, should take 45 minutes.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
not nothing, but yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Somebody who's relatively competent with electrical work could do it themselves. But as you know, I never recommend anybody open up a service panel. You always should have an electrician licensed electrician do your electric vehicle charging equipment. But it's just a couple of wires, Dom, in your panel. But certainly do not do any work inside your electrical panel unless you know what you're doing with electric. Because, and I say this in the video, you don't just get shocked, you get dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you touch the wrong thing
Yeah.
in your service panel. So it's not like, ooh, that hurt. No, this is like, call the coroner.
Yeah.
So don't open your panel and do work in there.
Yeah, this is not plumbing gone wrong where you get a water leak. This is
Yeah. And what people don't really realize, you open your service panel, that rear bar is live. I mean, it looks fine, nice shiny metal, like, and it's all exposed. So you're like, well, they couldn't have it that exposed and be live, could they? Yeah, because you remove the cover. Once you remove the cover, you're inside there. Anything you touch could kill you. So don't do it unless you know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Solid advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So that video will be dropping right after our podcast. And
Sweet.
then there's one last thing I want to mention real quick. So Don brought up a picture, and I said, don't bring up that picture. That had nothing to do with the Emporia Pro. I don't want you to think that the Emporia Pro did that. But what I am doing, if you guys are familiar with my Recharge Rescue series, where I go to people's homes and fix their problems. Well, we've identified another problem, and I'm going to be flying out to Washington State this weekend and fixing this nightmare here that actually involved the fire department coming to these people's home and shutting everything off. So we'll be getting another person charging up again that had one of these NEMA 1450 nightmares, that had a poorly installed NEMA 1450 outlet, and they were using a ChargePoint Home Flex, and they weren't home, and they were charging. Luckily, these people were really smart. They had a smoke and fire sensor installed in their garage above the charger.
Wow.
And that went off, gave his cell phone a notification that there's smoke in the garage, called the fire department. They show up, and there was an active fire at this outlet. So that's how serious these things are, guys. Don't use these junky $10 NEMA 1450 outlets. They look great on the outside, and you're charging with it. Well, I've been using it for a couple of years now. It's fine. Please, I know I sound like a broken record, but if anybody in the comment stream here today has an EMA 1450 outlet, shut your breaker off, open it up, take the screws out, just take a look at it and make sure you're not starting to get charring and all the connections seem nice and tight and everything, because it works until it doesn't. And the least of your problems is if it just shuts off. But you could have a fire in your house.
So don't mess around. One of the first things that we did when we moved into this place that we're in was I just had the board completely redone to current spec, because you just don't want to mess around with it. So I still had what I think of, I don't know when they came in or when they went out, but they were the fuses that I remember growing up with, which had a piece of fuse wire, and they would go and burn through. And I remember Dad going under the stairs and getting out some fuse wire and fixing the fuse and putting it in. I had 4 big fuses for the whole house and garage and everything. And that entirely relies on the fuse wire burning through over a period of, I don't know, seconds, milliseconds, whatever. But yeah, first thing I did was just what is current code? Rip it out and start again. And it was the best money I've ever spent, because just don't mess around with it, or trying to half-ass it or save a little bit of money here and there. It's the one thing, if you have an EV, just do it properly. But there you go. Where should we go? 5 minutes left. I'll run through 5 stories in 5 minutes. You can, of course, if you want to, get all the latest news on EV News Daily podcast. A couple of people listen to that every day. It is the 20, 30 minutes at the most. I go through over 1,000 sources a day to bring you exactly what you need to know, right? So sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter, but you know that if you've listened to one of my podcasts each day, that's the good stuff that you absolutely must know. I mean, I could make it 2-3 hours long a day, but nobody wants that much of me. But there are 5 stories we haven't got to today, and feel free to leave a comment after the show about any of them. First of all, Volkswagen buzz. In the first quarter of this year, 1,600 came to the US. Then in the second quarter, only 570, and now none. Why is that? Well, a couple of reasons. Volkswagen has halted exports to the US. Now, ostensibly related to a recall because the rear seat is wider than it's supposed to be. But some sources also saying the real issue is tariffs. Since April, the tariff on European goods went from 2.5% to 27.5%. Auto parts are included in that as well. The buzz may not be economically viable. Let us know what you think about that in the comments. Mercedes-Benz high-powered charging and Federal Realty Investment Trust have announced an agreement to put their DC fast chargers at the open-air retail destinations in the US that they control. That starts beginning in 2026 with 20 locations. Tesla gave us some numbers this week on the supercharger network during those 3 months of Q2. It opened 3,500 stalls globally, 70,000 stalls overall now. By the end of June, there'll be a bit more by now. In the first week of July. In Q2, the supercharger network consumed 1.6 terawatt hours of energy. But let's put that in context. Is that good or bad or up or down? It's 26% more than Q2 last year. Isn't that pretty interesting? So that's on the way up. What else were we going to talk about today?
See the Ford LFP plant. We survived. We got that one.
Yes, we mentioned that one. Thank you, Max. Max talked about the Ford LFP plant. A new study this week coming out from the International Council on Clean Transportation, at least in Europe. I think it's global figures as well. Updated their 2021 data for 2025, and they showed that EVs produce 73% fewer carbon emissions than equivalent gasoline-powered cars over their lifetime. They put the number on it of 10,000 miles being the crossover point. Really hard to put a number on because it depends what vehicle, how the car was made, how the factory was powered to make the car, and then where you charge the car. But they put their number on 10,000 miles. So obviously EVs come with a bit of almost a carbon debt, if you like, because more carbon is emitted to make the battery than to make a typical combustion engine. But they said after 10,000 miles, EVs just get cleaner and cleaner. The grids have got a lot cleaner since their last data point in 2021. And 73% fewer carbon emissions over the lifetime. And Rimac, the Navara, just keeps breaking records. Funnily enough, it keeps breaking its own records. We haven't heard a lot from Rimac lately. Just set a new record to go from and this will make your brain hurt slightly, 0 to 248.5 miles an hour in 25.9 seconds. Now, the 0 to 60 was neither here nor there. It's 1.66 seconds, by the way. But what's 60 miles an hour? That's standing still in Rimatz's world. No, they time it to 250 miles an hour, of which it'll do it in about 26 seconds. So hold on tight if you have one of these.
And they did a top speed run as well, where they hit 268.2 miles an hour, which is kind of boggles my mind that you can go that fast in something on the planet. It's on the ground. It's on an airplane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like tire technology is just insane now, isn't it? The fact that it's still 4 tiny little contact patches with the asphalt beneath you. That's
right. Yeah, I mean,
fries my brain.
Besides the cars having to have all the power to do that kind of thing, the rubber compound, they couldn't do this like not that long ago. This is way too fast for tires.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So yeah, we see it on the screen there on a banked curve. So I wonder if they come off the banking and then go onto the flat, or do they do it all on banking? Dom, have you watched this video yet? I haven't seen this video.
It's only a short video. It doesn't really show the whole thing, so we don't really know what track this is.
Here he comes. Yeah, he comes off the banking and then onto the flat. So yeah, so he's got up to speed. Yeah. I don't know what the speed was when he came off the banking, but that's pretty typical of these high-speed runs. They come off the bank and then they just floor it.
Right. They look pretty in control, though. These are 428, is still climbing 430 kilometers an hour. It's just that he like, how can he even take his eyes off the road for a second? You can see him glancing to the road.
He's touching his phone.
Yeah.
He's just texting his.
He's texting at 430 miles an hour.
Texting his wife, like, can you pick up some milk on the way home? We're out. That's crazy. Oh, wow. Wow. I can't believe he touched his phone at that speed. Wow.
I know. My hands would be like glued to that wheel. My eyes would be glued. I wouldn't be able to. I just have to be going, okay, you can slow down now. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, like a cartoon, like your eye is just massive. But
quarter mile in under 8 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
under
ridiculous.
8. Yeah.
Wow. Rimat, serious stuff. But we'll end the show with that. We always try and end with something to put a smile on your face as we say goodbye for another week. We love to read your comments. Honestly, it's the highlight for all of us, and you really do make this show. I was talking to Kyle about where we all started, kind of lockdown times, wasn't it, on the old podcast? And just like we've seen the same names in the comments from the early days, and you guys are so involved in this little podcast we do every week. We love to see what you've got to say as well, and all the new names that have cropped up over the years as well, and the regular listeners and viewers that tune in. We absolutely love it. Couldn't do it without you. And you add so much to it. You add, I think the phrase is you add value, but I hate that. But you do. Like, the comments on this podcast are not what you would typically find on the internet, which is people, status hunting, showboating, insulting. Like, the comment section of this is just people trying to add more and like, oh, I did this, I drove that, and it's awesome. So thank you so much. Make sure you hit like and obviously subscribe on the YouTube video if you are new to the podcast. Then you can get our shows automatically if you want to. I did promise you the new Grizzly advert. Got to keep Gleb happy. But before we go, Dom, you know what to do.
Ciao.
Grizzly. At Grizzly, we believe charging your electric vehicle should be simple, reliable, and affordable. That's why we design, engineer, and build our chargers in Canada, ensuring top-tier quality and performance. Powered by United Chargers, every Grizzly model is crafted in-house, built to withstand extreme conditions, and tested for reliability. Recognized by leading publications for its performance and value, Grizzly delivers both durability and intelligence with heavy-duty aluminum enclosures, premium output cables, and smart charging features like scheduling, usage tracking, and OCPP compatibility with multiple charging apps. Grizzly. Simple. reliable, affordable, built for every climate, every EV, everywhere you go. Visit grizzly.com to learn more.